What's going on, guys? My name is RagingRaptor and I welcome you to the real changes to the game in 2020 video. Because as you probably know, I already did a video of the, planned changes, the changes we saw during Ikibu stream. But Wargaming decided to, upgrade it a little bit. From just those topics right here, they went to some more topics and expanded on every single one of those. And this is very, very, very exciting because now we finally have some little informations about what is going to happen with the equipments, what is going to happen with the crews. So now let's jump in. The first thing is the new balance and the next steps. The first thing is they already discussed some different changes of the new balance featured in the 1.9 update, so we already know that Wargaming still thinks it's a good idea to keep on going for that. But they also said that if those players who purchased and researched a vehicle that became a collector's vehicle, be compensated for the spent experience, and they are saying no. Again, they do make some questions and answers parts in there in this topic, which is very, very good. But I don't like that Wargaming decides to say, you know what, you're not getting any compensation. I understand those tanks are not getting removed, but in the end you are kind of losing a decent chunk of experience, maybe even blueprints, depending if you took the tank. Once again, I personally would hope that Wargaming decides to do something like making at least the higher tier tanks being able to have different crews in it. However, with the upcoming crew changes, which we are going to have a look at in some minutes, this may or may not be necessary anymore. Next, we have the blueprints, and they're saying that they think that it's a popular new feature and very many players are using them. However, there are still issues that need to be resolved. For example, if a tree of some nation is already researched, but you still have national blueprint fragments, you can't do anything with them. I actually see this as a problem in the other direction. For example, when the new Russian sub-tree with the double-barrel guns came out, I simply didn't have the chance to really get them, I could, in theory, just click them for free because I had enough national blueprint fragments from different other things, different other events. But back then, when the Manticore tree came out, I simply had no national British, things. Flag fragments. So it just kind of screwed me over. I couldn't really get anything. So I think it is more or less an issue in the other direction. Also, I don't really like that. I do want to have something to do with blueprints because at the moment I am basically done with the game. I can free mark things, I can grind crews, which is all good, it's all Gucci, but I kind of am missing the point of having almost 1800 universal blueprints, What can I do with them? I personally would suggest to Wargaming to implement a system where, for example, if you have a lot of blueprint fragments, universal blueprint fragments, that you in theory could get a special reward tank for that. I don't know, maybe the youuuu 03 alt 03 or the upcoming object 752, instead of making those ranked vehicle rewards. Something like that. Maybe that you can exchange 800 universal fragments for those tanks. So even new player can decide, oh, I want to use those fragments for grinding, or the old veteran players are deciding to spare them up to get those tanks, So something like this I would like to wish for with the blueprints, because at the moment I understand they are decent for newish players, but they have some drawbacks. Again, why not add them to making tanks researched in the sense of not having to stock grind them? I understand that stock grinds are a major part of income for Wargaming because they can be frustrating, but for game health balance it would be better if the grinds in general would be longer, but the stock grinds would be shorter. Just my personal opinion. Next is a big topic. The special changes to the special shells. They are still saying the special shells have an ultimate advantage. No shit, my dear Sherlocks. There are whole subtypes of vehicles with good dynamics and gun handling that benefit the most from premium shells like T-54, Super Conqueror, Chieftain, and so on. Currently, our main goal is to give those vehicles more weight in battles and help them to play more important roles. They are now talking about tanks which are well armored but getting killed by the HE spam. On the sandbox server, we tried decreasing the DPM of special shells, and it was received well if we separate those particular changes from the rest of the new balance. I kind of want to use the idea of somebody I sadly don't remember the name of. I think it was on Reddit or in the forum. Somebody suggested the idea that instead of lowering the damage of the special shell, it would may or may not be a good idea of increasing the reload time of the special shell. Because obviously it in both ways it kills the DPM of the tank. But it makes it more convenient to use for lower tiered opponents because, for example, let's take the CDC at the moment. It has 240 alpha. So now imagine this tank having to fight the 50 TP, something which is well in its spread of matchmaking. It's a tier 9 heavy with 2000 HP. Sure, it probably needs around 9 shots to finish the 50 TP off. 9. That is a lot of shots you have to take. Now imagine that Wargaming decides to nerf the alpha damage of the CDC from 240 to around 200 when it is shooting gold. So from now it could go all the way up to 10, or maybe even 11 if you're very, very unlucky. So you can see that this will already make lower tiers, which have to shoot gold to penetrate somebody, incredibly weak. And it's even worse when we have, for example, something like an E100, a 60 TP, or even a mouse, So I kind of like the idea of when Wargaming wants to make it harder or longer to kill people when they are shooting gold, then maybe take the approach of, changing the reload time, because then it's not as punishing as when you, for example, have to use gold ammunition, so you can still do some damage to the enemy and just not are like a little fly, a pesky fly, which is annoying the enemy. I don't know, it's still a hard topic. I still think that we need weak spots back, and showing, or the trends are showing with the E100 and the IS-4 that Wargaming do not want to give those back, which is sad. Yeah. Anyway, on the Sandbox server, we tried decreasing the DPM of special shells. Again, it was well received. We still have a lot to do related for shells. For example, we still need to work on HE shells, but haven't made a final decision on increasing the base damage for standard shells yet. Please, again, do not change the standard shell alpha damage, period. Please do not change the health of higher tiered tanks, period. It is already, I personally think, yes, this is me crying out loud, because in the end I am used to the current system, and I personally think that the current health system works pretty darn well. I don't think it is very, very unbalanced, as you can, for example, have those massive big guns on the Jackpan C100, for example, which can take you out in 2 shots, but you know that, and then you have your DPM monsters, and I kind of feel like the balance when it comes to HP damage versus HPs, it's good on tier 10, 8, 9, and 7. So I really don't want to have standard shells having higher alpha damage, rather reduce the special shell damage. But yeah, we are looking at the shell rework as a whole in order to come to more a systematic solution. However, we don't intend to reintroduce purchasing special shells for gold, because everybody should have the same and equal conditions. However, I want to point out that a free-to-play player is not able to afford a lot of gold shells than a player which uses premium account. Just as a little side topic. But yeah, special shells, it's a hard topic. I still think we need more weak spots again. But again, this is my personal opinion. About HE shells, the way we wanted to rework HE shells didn't quite work out. Yes, that is true. I personally, once again, think that if you know how the HE formula works at the moment, it is pretty obvious how much damage you're going to do most of the time. It is around half of the damage, most likely a little bit less than half of the listed damage. So I don't know. I don't really see where the problem is in that sense. It's maybe around 60% when you, for example, look at the FV183, which can do 750 alpha roughly when it is not penning. It's just kind of, I don't really like the changes they promised with the HE shells. I'm glad they blocked them, and I hope that we can keep penetrating HE, which can do more damage to punish lightly armored vehicles. Next up, artillery. And Wargaming wants to do some changes with artillery, but they do not want to remove stun from allies, but we will check the settings of the stun system. Stun as a mechanic will not disappear. Again, take the ideas of the new balance and give the player a choice. The alpha, which is, or like the damage which it is right now without stun, or stun damage which is just 20 stun and 20% less damage. I like that system. It makes the artillerist choose what they want to focus on. And again, I think it is much more important that there should be a bigger focus on stunning people than, doing damage, because at the moment I personally suggest and think that artillery is still doing too much damage. Obviously, I am a little bit butthurt in that kind of sense, as I'm not liking artillery as a class in general. But knowing that even same tiered artilleries can free shot you with direct hits without penetrating is kind of, over the top. That's just my personal opinion. So yeah. But yeah, we might get some changes to artillery. Now one of the big changes, Crew 2.0, and as you can see, there are a lot more informations, and this is very, very cool. Crew 2.0 is a complex system. We are still working on developing various concepts for its implementation. But, and this is very, very important, they already have a vague idea of what they want to do. We will implement a new entity, the unit. It will comprise 4 crews. Each commander can be trained to a particular vehicle, or rather, of 4 of those crews. All crews within a unit are united by nation and vehicle type. For example, a medium tank for the USSR. Units have levels which determine how much perks the unit's commanders can learn. Each commander can have their own set of perks and skills. In fact, a crew can be assigned to 4 vehicles, plus all premium vehicles belong to the same nation and type. So that is very, 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 very interesting. So, at the moment, you will have a unit which consists of 4 crews, which is cool, in my opinion. Then, each of those crews has a commander. And each of those crews can go up to 4 vehicles without retraining. I still think it should be more, in my personal opinion, but it is very, very interesting of a concept, because for some reason, it will be really, really interesting how exactly it will be disturbed with serious crew skills, what will be serious crew skills, and so on and so forth. Will there be an end game? But interestingly enough, you can have, again, 4 crews in one of those units. And those units will be working together to get different perks and skills. So you still have the crew, which can be on 4 different tanks. And the unit, which consists of 4 crews. So you in total can have basically a unit with crews which can go on 16 different vehicles. That is pretty interesting in my opinion. That's pretty cool actually. And it will help, for example, somebody like me to have enough people or having one crew which can go in a tier 8, 9, 10 vehicle and a tier 7 vehicle. So I have one crew which is for 4 people, for 4 tanks, which is in my opinion amazing when I'm understanding this correctly. And then, for example, for the unit, you, for example, have another tank. Like, I don't know, you have the tier 5 and the tier 6 vehicles. So you are basically set, and if you, for example, taking one unit and the tech tree has 2 branches of mediums, you're good to go. You just need one unit and having all the tanks of 2 branches fully put together. That is very, very cool if I understood this correctly. As again, this is the most important thing to me personally. But yeah, there will be so-called special crews. They are counselors who will strengthen the commanders. So, it looks like that, for example, a unit doesn't need to consist of just 4 crews. It might consist of 1 crew, which is for 4 tanks, and 3 special crews, which are going to strengthen the commander. The question is how this will be implemented. I do like that it's not a copy-paste of World of Warships, even though I think World of Warships system is pretty decent. When I'm looking at War Thunder's system, I find it personally very, very, very confusing and very, very long when it comes to fully grind it out. The perk system will be significantly reworked to include more perks, which will have a level. Perks will be divided into 5 branches, by analogy by crew members, with each branch ending with 2 ultimate perks to choose from. To learn them, the player will have to work hard on the branches. That is interesting. It reminds me a little bit of Borderlands in that sense, and a little bit of World of Warships. I really do like that it tries to give you different perks and different playstyles. So it will be hard to know what exactly this will be if we keep the skills like Sixth Sense. If I really do hope that Sixth Sense will be a serious skill, like this will be on all tanks, because this is very, 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 very important. Again, this needs to be done. There has not to be any grind wall behind Sixth Sense, in my personal opinion. But yeah, this system will integrate in a commander which basically represents an entire crew. So in the end, for each tank, or in the end, you just have one commander which has a skill tree underneath him. And this skill tree has 5 different branches. In each of those branches, you have 2 ultimate things, perks to choose from. Depending how those ultimate perks are, this could be a huge advantage for new players, or a huge advantage for older players, and maybe even game breaking. It really depends how Wargaming is going to do this. But it kind of sounds interesting. It sounds like there will be a finite end, because I'm considering the current system to be infinite. You know, it takes way too long to fully grind out a crew, which makes sense in the sense, but it's also like, I like the World of Warship system more, where you can gather crew experience to use to rework, or repurpose, or reschool the crews. But yeah, it will be interesting to see if you will, for example, only have like a special unit which has 3 special commanders, 3 special crews, which will only help one commander, and this commander will be used on 4 different vehicles, you know. Will be very, very interesting to see. Again, we will test the system in Sandbox. Some of the new perks will resemble the old ones, and situational perks will be added which will reflect the player's behavior, e.g. a perk that speeds up reloading when vehicle durability is low. Will we get something like Adrenaline Rush in World of Warships, where the less HP you have, the quicker your crew works? That would be cool. A total of 35 perks are planned, 10 of which are ultimate. Makes sense? We have 5 different branches, and there are 2 ultimates at the end. So you have in total 5 skills per branch, with 2 and 2 additional ultimate ones where you can only choose 1 from, if I understood it correctly. The main rule: a crew makes the gameplay more enjoyable but does not provide a considerable advantage. Diversity will be increased and stronger perks will be used situationally. Sounds interesting. I'm looking forward to this. It's still a little bit vague, but I'm totally up for that. Next up, we have Equipment 2.0, and once again we got more information. They want to diversify the usage of equipment and move away from identical standard setups. Next up, we have the Equipment 2.0, and once again there is a very, very interesting idea. They want to diversify the usage of equipment and move away from identical standard setups. That is true. Basically, on medium tanks, you're taking gun lane drive. What am I talking about? Rammer, optics, and vertical stabilizer. That's basically what you take on most tanks. We want to add new types of equipment that influences new characteristics that never affected before. We also want to simplify the system of equipment types and their prices. So this sounds like that Wargaming may or may not give us the opportunity to, for example, have equipment boosting the engine. And yeah, currently we think that the vehicles will have slots for certain equipment types. For example, one for gun handling, another for concealment or defensive equipment. This should lead to each role and vehicle type having certain bonuses that will be applied, which will help make their roles and places more prominent. Equipment slots properties will be based on roles. There will be no restrictions for setups, but some equipments will be available only for a certain type of vehicle. There will be no penalties, only improvements. So really, this idea reminds me of World of Warships, where, for example, I'm sorry I have the German client right now, you also have different slots which can help you. Have the higher tiered slots, which for example are more used for defensive things. Then you have those medium tier slots. Every single slot is somewhat used for different things. This one, for example, is for general helpings of the ship. This one is for survivability of different parts of the ship. So are the first slots. So I really do like the idea that Wargaming wants to do this type of thing in World of tanks. However, I am a little bit concerned how exactly this is going to work out for wargaming. How is it going to change the behavior of tanks? With the new crews, will it be making tanks incredibly overpowered? What will the things be? I am still a little bit saddened that we are not getting too much information just yet. Again, I am an information sponge. I love to have information, but sadly, we still lack. However, there is a problem: the high price of unmounting improved equipment. 200 bonds per unit of such equipment. Any changes? They say the unmounting price is set to what it is to not reduce the value of equipment. And however, after reintroduction of bounty equipment, we will return to the unmounting issue, including the one for improved equipment. It will be resolved with the players in mind in any case, maybe by increasing the bond's earnings. Sounds interesting to me. We'll see. Rewards for merit has been removed and you can't receive the demounting kits anymore. Will you do something about it? Well, Wargaming once again said we will add the ability to receive mounting kits. We are currently testing how daily missions work and if everything is okay with them. No, it is not. They're way too little, things you're getting compared to the rewards of merit. So, rank the battlers. Well, we have 3 engaging seasons. Depending on your results across all 3 seasons, you can earn the ultimate reward, a tier 9 tank. So it's basically exactly the same thing as we have now. We already talked about this already. Point is, I like that Wargaming wants to move towards playing in leagues rather than in divisions, because divisions is too hard of a grind, in my personal opinion. Well, yeah. I am 100% sure that this looks a little bit better. I hope that Wargaming does what they are saying right here, shortening the time through the divisions. So yeah. Also, they are saying they are not planning right now. First of all, they're saying they don't have a unified opinion on this issue. Some say, yes, this is an issue. Others say, no, this is not an issue. By the way, I had to Google that word because I read it in an article about the 2 trillion parachute for the United States. And now I understand what it means. Learning! But yeah, they don't have a unified opinion on this issue yet. I personally think reward tanks should be removed from ranked battles game mode, or no, they should just simply be removed. You can't really say that if your team has a 279, the enemy has to have a 279. It's get even more bonkers when you think about chieftains. For example, one team could have Ducky, and you have somebody which just grinded 40,000 bonds but has a 48% win rate, you know? Obviously, the guy which is called Ducky will be smashing the other guy's face in. I think, personally, they should be gone. That's just my personal opinion. Or Wargaming. What about nerfing the chieftain? What about nerfing the 279? That might be a very, very good idea. Like, you know, adding the weak spots again. Or, you know what would be even better? And I'm sorry for sounding so sarcastic. No, seriously, nerf those tanks. Actually implementing the Chieftain Mark 6, because its cupola is 60 millimeters thick. It's actually pretty darn huge compared to the Chieftain's current cupola. That's just my personal opinion. I'm going to skip about this because everything we already talked about, except for this. We are also thinking about options for rebalancing wheeled vehicles. Players have a hard time hitting the wheeled vehicles, so it should be fixed in the first place. I want to point out, if you know or if you have a feeling for aiming, it's not that hard. The issue is, if you have a very good wheeled vehicle player, it will dodge and weave. This makes it harder. So if you know how to lead and you have a mediocre EBR player in the enemy team, it's not hard to hit them. The more annoying issue is that your accuracy is the issue, in my personal opinion. However, I also agree on that if your wheels are being damaged, that there should be a bigger melee, or like a bigger minus, a bigger nerf to the mobility. And I personally would suggest it would be a good idea that if you want to repair those wheels, you have to stay still or get into cover. That is my personal opinion. But yeah, the effect of damaged wheels is minimal. It insufficiently affects the overall maneuverability and the mobility of the vehicle. It needs to be fixed, and we'll take care of this year. Lastly, the anniversary we already talked about. This is annoying. Do you plan to pardon banned players at the 10th anniversary? Yes, we do, but we're not ready to disclose the details about which players and which violations will be pardoned. Again, let's put it that way. If you cheat in a game and you get banned, Either you wait for the ban to be over, you make a new account, or you start to play seriously. I was not banned in World of Tanks. I was banned in Dark Orbit. Why? Because I used a bot, which was basically doing missions for me, or basically just gathering stuff for me, because Dark Orbit is incredible pay to win. And I was just bored of putting so much money in it. Again, I was young. I was like 15, 16 years old. And I got banned permanently. I made up a new account and started to play legitimately. And it works out. Obviously, I had to invest more money, real life money, because it's a pay to win game, but I didn't cheat anymore. So I don't really think that pardoning players is a good idea, because then sometimes you may be having accounts which back then were like botted or cheated to heck and having incredible stats or incredible funds, that it doesn't really make such sense. Again, it's like if you would say, let's for example take the Olympics, and you say, oh, the Russians were caught doping. We have to ban them. And next year, those individuals are suddenly unbanned anymore. And you're like, well, they do cheat. It's kind of, I really don't like this. I really do not like this. It's a little bit of weird of an analogy when I'm thinking about it right now, but again, in sports, when somebody's doping, they're like scolded for life. And if they pardon them, at least show in the in-game that they have cheated or something, because I don't like right now, seriously, just don't do it. Just don't do pardon players which are banned right now, because they're banned for a reason, Just my personal opinion on. Other things. Battle formats. Do you plan to return removed battle modes like the 754 format? They say no. But they say Team Clash was pretty interesting in the 770 mode. And they may or may not think about reintroducing something like this without binding to any specific game event. We want to see how players perceive the gameplay itself whenever they enjoy everything. If it all goes well, we will consider options to use to rewards and other things. Only then, after implementing the improvements, we will launch it if needed. The 770 format will not be a new esports, but rather ward sports for amateurs. I like the 770 mode. I really did like it. It was fun, in my opinion. Sure, you had your tryhards in a 279 like some other people's right here. But you also had some fun when you were playing troll tanks, and you had just some fun because it was much more active gameplay, in my opinion. I really enjoyed it. Gaming events overlapping each other. They're saying it was the fault of DDoS. Again, I know you have things planned, and right now it's getting a lot. We have Battle Pass, we have Ranked, we have in a clan when you're active, or should be active, you have Advanced, now we have Clan Wars. It's getting a lot. It's a lot. In the next week, we have Frontlines, I think, or in 2 weeks. It's getting a lot at the moment, okay? But apparently they want to do clan activities for in random battles. That sounds interesting. This is amazing! We will get an update to the bot shop. Please, give T22. Give. I want to have the T22. It's the last tier 10 vehicle I'm missing. Give Wargaming. Give, please. But yeah, T22 medium. Hype. And every 6 months, they want to introduce the bond shop. That is amazing. And lastly, UI issues. How and when do you plan to fix this? It's a systematic problem, especially the slippery objects. They are working together with the makers of the engine. Let's hope it works out, because slippery rocks are incredibly annoying. Way too long video about going over everything. Luckily enough, looks good. It looks interesting. I am very much looking forward to Cruise and Equipment 2.0, because this makes or breaks the game, in my personal opinion, and it can make the game incredible noob friendly. My personal opinion on. Like, it will be very interesting to see what exactly happens when you, for example, have a fully stacked crew. How big are the improvements? How are they going to connect to equipment? I really look forward to this. It's an uncertainty, but I am hyped for that. My name is RagingRaptor. What do you think about all this? And again, sorry for the long video, but there was a lot to talk about. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoy such videos, leave a like, leave a comment, and so feel free to subscribe. And if not, well then not. And for people which are saying, mate, do you have corona? I don't think so. I am now almost 2 weeks at home. without having any contact to other people except for my mother and my father. My father being also at home since 2 weeks. Just my mother having to work once a week and going to shopping. The issue is that my throat usually doesn't really work out well when it comes to colder temperatures. I have the window right now open because my room can get pretty warm with the current setup I'm running, AMD for the win. And obviously in Switzerland it's cold. The cold air and the dry air is not really good for my throat. So I do have more of a cough in the winter months than in the summer months. But again, I don't think it is corona. So thank you very much for your concerns, guys. I keep you up to date if anything like this would happen to me. Seriously, I don't think there is anything. I am staying at home because that is my duty. I do not go outside if I don't have to. I can be a carrier because I'm a younger person. In theory, I could carry the virus without knowing and infecting other people. I am, and this is why I am doing everything I can to stay at home, university at home, and so on and so forth. And I am suggesting if you don't have to go outside, stay at home as much as possible. Wash your hands. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. Cheers, guys, and I'll see you in a different video. And finally, get some break. Jesus Christ.